Welcome back to Red vs. Blue episode summaries. Today, I'll be doing episode 48, Heavy Metal. The episode begins with Sarge informing the rest of the Reds and Blues that if they were really going to break into O'Malley's fortress, they needed a plan to do so, adding that he had two ideas. The first one being that the Reds and Blues would line up in a single file line, going from least important to most important, so that the least important people would be killed first, and the most important would be killed last, clarifying that someone like Tucker would go in the front, showing his bias towards the Blues, and someone like himself would go in the back, showing the bias for himself. Adding that they should all scream at the top of their lungs, which would thereby shock O'Malley when they came in, as there would be going from no sound to fucking mayhem sound. A black and white reenactment of Sarge's plan is shown on the screen as he explains all this, as Tucker and Simmons both criticize this plan. Tucker stating how they would obviously just be killed as soon as they walked in, and Simmons arguing that Caboose should be the one in the back of the line, indicating that he was the most important since he was carrying the bomb. Sarge counters that he shouldn't in fact be in the back as opposed to Caboose, as someone needs to be in the back who can objectively evaluate how their plan was working, implying that Caboose didn't have the mental capacity to do so, and he did. Tucker then questions Sarge how he would know if the plan was failing, with Sarge clarifying that if Caboose died, then he would know that they were in trouble, and know to abandon the plan. Caboose dumbly states that he believes this is a good plan, not realizing that it would only save Sarge, not the rest of the Reds and Blues. They would already be dead by this point. Griff states that he believes the plan is retarded as well, but is surprised to note that Sarge didn't put him in the back like he expected, as Sarge obviously hated him more than anybody else, thanking Sarge for not doing so. Sarge then clarifies, though, that the only reason why Griff wasn't at the back was because he would already be dead, and his corpse would have been used to jam up the windmill before they would have even started on the plan. Sarge then happily pictures this in his head, despite literally no one agreeing with Sarge's plan so far. Sarge states how he thought that it was the perfect plan, expecting everyone to agree, but they all just stare at him blankly. Sarge, finally realizing everyone's distaste for his first plan, then goes on to explain his second plan, but is swiftly cut off by Griff, who asks Tex if she had a better idea, obviously thinking she would, due to Tex actually having battle experience. But unfortunately, Tex is too busy listening to Sarge's second plan, and doesn't respond to Griff. As for Sarge's second plan, it involved, once again, Griff's harm, but this time to a much larger degree, stating that they would use parts from the Warthog in order to make a Griff cannon, which they would use to make a Griff-sized hole in one of the walls of O'Malley's base, or paint the base a very disgusting color, insinuating that Griff would either be thrown into the wall, or his guts would be spilled all over the wall. So, bad for him either fucking way. Griff hears this plan, and only walks away slowly, not shocked at all at Sarge's hatred towards him, but still disappointed. Meanwhile, inside O'Malley's base, O'Malley, calling the Red Soldier and Lopez fools, asked them if he believed that the Reds and Blues stood a chance against them, obviously believing himself that they didn't. Lopez and the Red Soldier agree, obviously believing themselves to be way stronger, and the Red Soldier stated that since they had the flag on their side, they would obviously win, referring to the flag that he held in such high religious regard. O'Malley, thrilled that him and his servants were on the same page, then restated how the Reds and Blues did in fact have no chance against them, and ordered his servants to go to their battle stations. Lopez and the Red Soldier refused to move though, with O'Malley angrily questioning why, leading the Red Soldier to explain that he forgot which battle station was his, and Lopez to explain that being only a fucking head meant that he had to have someone carry him to his station. He obviously couldn't get there himself. Meanwhile, the Reds and Blues had arrived at O'Malley's base, deciding to go with neither of Sarge's plans, and rather to just wing it, and that was probably best for a group like them. Sarge then got on the radio, so he could talk with everyone who was all in different positions around the base, and proceeded to ask everyone if they were ready, not waiting for an answer to explain the first part of their initiative, which was that Donut, Caboose, and him would move the bomb down the staircase and along the left side of the base. Donut and Caboose, who were with Sarge, then started talking, after Caboose begged everyone to hurry, saying that he didn't know how much longer he could hold the bomb, which he was currently doing. Once again revealing that just because Caboose could hold the bomb doesn't mean that he could do it for long periods of time. Donut then proceeded to comment how the bomb certainly did look heavy, suggesting that if Caboose wanted to hold it for a longer period of time, he may need to wear some supportive undergarment to do so. Caboose, not wanting to, politely declines, as Donut urged him to anyways, stating that he could borrow one of his undergarments, particularly something with lace, which he stated was totally in style right now, as if that was Caboose's concern. Meanwhile, in another area of the base, Tucker had spotted a sniper rifle and excitedly rushed to grab it, finally wanting to take one for himself, but unfortunately for him, Tex claimed it first, much to his annoyance. Simmons and Griff, who were right by Tucker and Tex, had heard Sarge's message on the radio, and Simmons informed him they were ready to do their part, as Sarge then instructed him, Griff, and Tucker, calling Griff and Tucker the two bullet magnets, due to them being the two people that he would place at the back, if they did his original plan, instructing them to move up to the right side of the base and attempt to cause some kind of distraction. Simmons then responds by asking Sarge if he had any specific suggestions, with Sarge just stating that as long as it would draw the fire of their weapons away from everyone else and towards them, as he viewed them as expandable, he didn't care. Donut then butts in, suggesting that Griff and Simmons do some dance moves as a distraction, or a musical number, but Sarge just tells Donut to shut the fuck up and get off the radio, which he does, leaving Griff and Simmons to fend for themselves, not wanting to help them any further. Simmons, now aware of this, informs Griff, Tucker, and Tex that they were now on their own without Sarge's support, and he asked Tex how it looked from up in the vantage point that she was now currently standing on. Tex replied by informing them that it didn't seem like anyone was around, but the guns were definitely online in some way, implying they could be used at any moment. Tucker, being afraid of the guns, then stated to Sergeant Simmons how he missed the old days back in season 1 and 2, where they didn't risk their lives and actually do genuine missions, and they just fucking stood and talked all day, and had pointless arguments, referring to the numerous times that he would yell at them with church, not knowing who they were, and simply calling them nameless assholes. Griff then assures Tucker that at least the one thing that didn't change was the fact that they hated each other. Meanwhile, Sarge, Donut, and Caboose were on their way to a different position within the base. As O'Malley watched from atop another vantage point similar to the one Tex was on, warning the Red Soldier and Lopez that he spotted the Reds and Blues and that they were on their way, informing them to get ready. The Red Soldier and Lopez had now begun manning their battle stations as O'Malley had suggested, which were the turrets, with the Red Soldier yelling out, "Prepare to be cleansed, infidels," at all the Reds and Blues, getting ready to kill them, and Lopez assuring O'Malley that he would not let them cross the border, which was an ironic joke at the fact that he was Mexican. What's not explained is how Lopez even got on the turret in the first place. Did the Red Soldier carry him, or what the fuck happened? I guess we'll never know. Meanwhile, Simmons, Griff, and Tucker had went down to one of the hidden areas in O'Malley's base and claimed that they were now in position. Sarge and Donut had arrived in position as well, with Sarge getting back on the radio and informing the trio that they were as well. Donut then remarked how well this fortress invading thing was going, obviously expecting it to be a lot more difficult with O'Malley involved, but then Caboose stated that he didn't think it was easy, as he had the hardest job having to hold the bomb, claiming it was way too fucking heavy for him. As if on cue, Caboose then finally gives out, dropping the bomb, not being able to hold it anymore. This alerts the Red Soldier to their location, having heard the bomb drop. Sarge scolds Caboose for dropping the bomb, stating that he could blow them all to smithereens if he wasn't careful enough. While Donut, on the other hand, had spotted that the Red Soldier had noticed them and tried his best to inform Sarge of this, but with Sarge too distracted, now explaining to Caboose that he could blow people to smithereens if he wanted, but Griff at least had to be nearby, implying that he wanted Griff to die so much that he would be okay with everyone else dying. He failed to do so before the Red Soldier began firing his turret at them. Sarge is surprised, as Donut then yells at everyone to duck, despite being late with his warning, and Caboose misunderstands Donut's command, assuming that there was an actual duck nearby, stating that he loved ducks. Sarge clarified the true meaning of the word duck, though, just telling him to get down, calling him an idiot. Meanwhile, Lopez was also somehow firing his turret, but at Tucker, Simmons, and Griff, causing Griff to panic and inform Sarge that they were under fire as well. Sarge calmly clarified that this was part of the plan, as they had to do a distraction, right? So Sarge just ordered them to now do the next step, which was to draw off their fire. Tucker then asks what Sarge's orders were, with Griff clarifying, not wanting to actually tell him the truth, as that would mean having to put his life at risk, that Sarge had told them to not do anything risky. With Tucker and Griff distracted, Simmons then takes charge, ordering Tex to try and find a solution for Lopez's gun. Tex obliged, easily shooting Lopez off the turret, seemingly destroying his head. Happily exclaiming, "Headshot," quite literally, you just fucking killed Lopez's entire existence, bro. Griff, seeing this, then complimented Tex on her shooting skills, as Simmons instructed Tucker to go and try and take out the Red Soldier, adding that he and Griff would sneak inside the base and try and find O'Malley while they did that. Tucker complains that his job was a lot more dangerous, having to go up against a machine gun as opposed to playing hide and seek like he thought Simmons and Griff were doing. Griff then rebutted that the person that they were seeking had a fucking rocket launcher, so they were doing something dangerous as well, leading Tucker to drop his point, sarcastically telling Griff and Simmons to have fun. Meanwhile, Sarge was giving orders of his own, instructing Caboose to try and sneak into the front of the base so that he could plant the bomb, ensuring him that he and Donut would cover him and try and counter any shots if they came his way. Caboose accepted the plan, but Donut was surprised at the fact that Sarge was seemingly willing to put his life at risk by blocking any shots that came Caboose's way, with Sarge clarifying that he actually intended for Caboose to die and for them to fail at protecting him from any shots, informing Donut that he would actually have to be the one to carry the bomb into the base. Now, I know Sarge was likely blinded by his hatred for the Blues here, just wanting to see Caboose dead, but how would he expect Donut to carry the bomb when it was established that only Caboose could do so? Anyways. Meanwhile, Tex and Tucker had arrived at the place in the base that had the huge windmill, and Tex complained that she couldn't see her target being the Red Soldier from that position, so she instructed Tucker to go further with her as she ran across the area, jumping across a little pit area. Tucker tries to do the same, but he fails, and lands in a hole as a result. He asks for Tex's assistance to get him out of this hole, but after knowing that Tucker was at least alive, Tex just decided to leave him behind, stating that destroying the Red Soldier and his turret was more important, and that she would come back for Tucker later. Inside the hole, Tucker then excitedly spots something, questioning what the hell it could be. Meanwhile, on Griff and Simmons' journey to go into the base to find O'Malley, they had also come across the other one of the base's windmills, with Simmons informing Griff that they had to jump through it, Griff was hesitant, though, and wanted Simmons to jump first, with Simmons questioning why, with Griff clarifying that because he didn't want to die, insinuating that he could get hit by the windmill. Simmons denied this, though, stating that the windmill was moving way too slow to be able to do any permanent damage to him. Immediately disproving Simmons' point, the windmill then does a full rotation at such high speed that it causes Griff and Simmons to feel the wind, leading Griff to simply tell Simmons that it was nice knowing him, once again confirming that he would not be willing to jump through the fan. Meanwhile, Tex and the Red Soldier had now spotted each other, causing the Red Soldier to redirect all of his shots from Caboose and Donut to Tex. Sarge complained at this, revealing that his true intention was for Caboose to die, so he wanted the Red Soldier to shoot at Caboose instead. As for Tex, she was really struggling to avoid being shot at, and yelled out that she needed assistance. As if on cue, Tucker, who had escaped from the hole, then showed up right in front of the Red Soldier. He proceeded to call him an asshole and whip out the item that he had found while in the hole, which was revealed to be a glowing sword. The Red Soldier was caught off guard as Tucker proceeds to use the sword to kill the Red Soldier, sending his body flying off the base and face-planting. As the Red Soldier died, he foolishly believed that his flag religion was true after all, claiming that he could see the flag and it was so flappy, adding that his quest was finally complete. Tex is immediately amazed by Tucker's glowing sword, never having seen anything like it, and proceeding to ask him where he got it from. Tucker clarifies that he found it in the hole that he fell in, stating how he thought it was pretty cool, as he showed Tex what it was capable of, swinging it in the air. Tucker thought it was so cool that he actually denied to trade it for the sniper rifle when Tex offered it to him in exchange, wanting the weapon herself. That's when you know that Tucker liked this thing, if he was going to deny the sniper rifle for it. Meanwhile, Caboose had successfully managed to arrive inside of O'Malley's base, reminding himself that he was looking for the X that Tex had said that she planted at the base, which was the spot where he had to plant the bomb. Being as dumb as he is, though, when he comes across the X, he mistakes it for a plus sign and continues past it. He continues so far past it to the point where he arrives in the base's computer room that Doc and O'Malley had discovered earlier. The episode then ends as Caboose walks up to the computer and hears Church's voice, asking if Caboose could hear him, leading Caboose to exclaim, "Church?" in disbelief. Church was seemingly back in the show, baby.